She barged onto my porch screaming, "You can't stop us! This whole forest is HOA property!" Her voice echoed through the trees as I stood there, still holding my coffee mug. I looked past her shoulder and froze. Dozens of cars were crammed into my driveway, the meadow, even along the dirt road leading up to my cabin. People I had never seen before were dragging coolers, pitching tents, cranking up music like they owned the place. I stepped down the porch stairs slowly. "You're trespassing," I said. "All of you." Karen laughed, a sharp, mocking laugh that made a few heads turn. "You don't get it. This cabin falls under our HOA rules. We're having our annual summer bash, and you're not going to ruin it." My jaw tightened. I had bought this cabin outright, 20 acres of private land, no HOA anywhere near my deed. But before I could speak, two teenage boys in baseball caps wheeled a massive grill right across my vegetable patch, crushing the stakes. "Stop!" I shouted, running toward them. That's when Karen stepped between us, waving a clipboard like it was a badge. "Touch them and I'll call the cops. You'll be the one getting arrested." For a second, the absurdity of it made me laugh under my breath. "Go ahead," I told her. "Call them." She smirked as if she'd already won. "Oh, I will." But the smirk slipped the moment I pulled out my phone. "Actually," I said, scrolling to my speed dial, "I think I'll do it first." Karen's eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare. We have permission." "From who? Because it sure as hell isn't from me." The air shifted. Some of the strangers slowed their unpacking, watching us. I could feel the anger building in my chest, but I kept my voice steady as I told the dispatcher, yeah, I'd like to report about 300 trespassers on my private property." Karen's smile returned, a thin, cruel thing. "You'll regret this," she hissed. I didn't answer her. I just watched as one of the men she'd invited stumbled toward my boathouse carrying a case of beer. My stomach sank. They were headed straight for the lake I'd spent 2 years restoring. And that's when I realized this was about more than a party. Karen hadn't just crashed my land. She was trying to claim it.
The cops said they were on their way, but looking at the crowd spreading across my land, I knew it would take them a while to get here. Karen stood with her arms crossed, grinning like she'd already won the fight. Music blasted from a set of giant speakers someone had hauled out of a truck bed, shaking the porch windows. A group of strangers were dragging my canoe toward the lake, ignoring me completely. I walked over to them. "Leave the canoe where it is. That's not yours." One of them shrugged. "Karen said it's part of the HOA lake, man. Chill." Karen's voice cut through the noise before I could respond. "You heard him, folks. Keep setting up. This party isn't stopping just because one angry guy thinks he owns everything." A few people laughed. My blood boiled. "Think I own it?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "Karen, I do own it. Every tree, every rock, that lake. You've got 10 minutes to tell everyone to pack up." For the first time, she flinched, but only for a second, before her smirk returned. "You're bluffing. I checked the maps. This whole area is HOA common grounds. I don't care what papers you think you have." I could almost hear my father's voice in my head. "Keep calm. Facts beat shouting every time." I pulled my wallet from my back pocket and unfolded a copy of my land deed I always kept handy for disputes like this. I held it up so close she could read the seal. She snatched it from my hand, her eyes scanning it. Her face reddened. This doesn't mean anything. We're filing an extension to reclaim this land soon, so you better get used to having neighbors." Neighbors. That word sent a cold anger through me. This was my father's cabin, left to me after he passed, a place I'd rebuilt board by board over 2 summers. I wasn't going to let a fake HOA turn it into a party ground. A sudden cheer erupted from the lake. I turned to see a group of teenagers climbing onto the roof of my boathouse, using it as a diving platform. The wooden shingles cracked under their feet. "Get down!" I yelled, running toward them, but Karen blocked my path. touch them, and I'll have you arrested for assaulting guests." "Guests?" I barked. "You mean trespassers. You just wait till the cops get here." Her smile faded for a split second before she recovered. "Oh, they'll be on my side. They always are." That was when I noticed her slipping her phone into her pocket, her thumb still hovering over the screen as if she'd just ended a call. A sick feeling crept into my gut. "What did you just do?" I asked. Karen tilted her head with that same fake sweetness. "Let's just say I know how to make things official." Something about the way she said it told me this wasn't just about trespassing anymore.
10 minutes felt like an hour. The music kept getting louder. The smell of smoke from the grill drifted across the yard, and beer cans started piling up on my porch steps. My hands clenched at my sides as I watched two men drag my patio chairs to the edge of the lake like they owned the place. Karen hadn't moved far. She stood at the center of the chaos like a queen surveying her kingdom, still clutching that clipboard like it was a badge of authority. I caught her watching the road every few minutes, clearly waiting for someone. I was halfway to the boathouse to yell at the kids again when I heard the sharp sound of car doors slamming. 3 black SUVs had pulled up at the end of my driveway. At first I thought the police had arrived, until I saw the uniforms. They weren't police. 3 men stepped out wearing dark blue shirts with gold patches that didn't look official. Their belts had plastic holsters, and one even wore a shiny badge that was way too large to be real. The crowd started to cheer like the cavalry had just arrived. Karen's grin stretched ear to ear. "Gentlemen," she called out, "this is the property dispute I told you about. Arrest him for trespassing on HOA land." I blinked. "You've got to be kidding me." The tallest of the 3 swaggered toward me, adjusting his belt. "Sir, you're going to need to vacate this area immediately. This land belongs to the Ridgewood Lakes HOA." I stared at him, then at Karen, then back at him. "Show me your badge number," I said calmly. His smirk faltered just a little. "I don't have to show you anything. Step aside." "No," I said. "You do have to show me. Because if you're law enforcement, you're required to identify yourself. If you're not, that's impersonation, and I'm happy to let the real sheriff sort that out." Karen let out a sharp laugh. "Oh, you're one of those constitutional types, huh? Always quoting laws you don't understand." But something in her tone told me she was nervous. I reached for my phone again. "Funny thing, Karen, my cousin is a deputy. He's the one who's on his way right now." The fake officer's hand froze halfway to his radio. His eyes darted to the other 2 men, then to Karen. "You're bluffing," Karen said quickly. "I'm not," I replied, locking eyes with her. "And if you don't tell your friends to back off, they'll be leaving here in handcuffs too." For the first time that day, Karen's grin slipped completely. The 3 men exchanged uneasy glances, and I caught one of them subtly inching back toward the SUV. That was when the distant sound of a siren drifted through the pines. It was faint, but enough to make the crowd start murmuring. Karen folded her arms tighter, but her voice cracked just enough to betray her. "Good," she said. "The cops are here. We'll see who they believe." I just stood there, heart pounding as the red and blue lights flickered between the trees, hoping that the deputy driving that cruiser was indeed my cousin, and that he'd arrive before Karen's little charade went any further. The cruiser rolled up the gravel road, lights flashing. The siren cut out as it stopped behind the black SUVs. My cousin, Deputy Mark Turner, stepped out, one hand resting casually on his duty belt. He scanned the scene. The tents, the crowd, the lake full of strangers, and then his eyes met mine. "Mark," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm, "you're going to want to hear this." Karen jumped in before I could explain. "Officer, thank God you're here. This man is trespassing on HOA property and threatening our guests. I need you to remove him right now." Mark looked at her, then back at me.
Trespassing on his own cabin? He asked flatly. Karen blinked. His so-called cabin is on HOA grounds. He's refusing to leave. He even called you to harass us. Mark's brow furrowed. Ma'am, this is Turner land. Been in his family for 30 years. You're the ones trespassing. Karen's face went red. That's impossible. I checked the records. Then you checked the wrong ones, Mark said. He nodded toward me. You got your deed on you? I handed him the folded paper I'd shown Karen earlier. Mark opened it, glanced at the seal, then tucked it back in my hand. Looks solid to me. Karen's voice rose, shrill and desperate. No, that can't be right. These officers can confirm. Mark turned to the three men by the SUVs. Which department you boys with? They froze. One of them cleared his throat. Ridgewood, security detail, sir. Security detail doesn't wear badges like that, Mark said, his tone shifting hard. Step over here. Hands where I can see them. Karen started backing up. They're volunteers. They're just here to keep the peace. Volunteers with fake badges is a felony, Mark snapped. Two more deputies pulled up in another cruiser, stepping out as Mark motioned to the fake officers. The crowd went quiet, the music finally shutting off. Karen turned back to me, her eyes wild. You set me up! You planned this! I didn't bother answering. Mark read Karen her rights as one deputy cuffed the tallest man from the SUVs. Karen shrieked as the cuffs clicked around her wrists. This isn't over, she yelled. I'll have your land by next month. You'll regret calling the cops. Mark gave her a look colder than the lake water. Ma'am, the only thing you'll have is a court date. As they led her toward the cruiser, the crowd of trespassers started packing up quietly, avoiding my eyes. The teenagers climbed down from the boathouse roof, looking ashamed. I stood there on the porch as the last of the cars drove away, the sound of crickets slowly returning to the quiet night. Mark came over, clapping a hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing calling us first. She's been running scams like this for a while. Guess she finally picked the wrong cabin. I let out a long breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Yeah, Dad would have wanted me to stand my ground. Mark gave a small smile. He'd be proud. We'll keep an eye on her case. For now, get some rest. You've got your land back. I watched the taillights of the cruisers fade down the road, Karen shouting in the back seat until the sound was swallowed by the woods. The cabin felt like mine again. Quiet, solid, untouchable. For the first time all day, I locked the porch door, sat back down with my cold coffee, and looked out at the lake. The stars reflected on the water just the way my father used to describe it, like a piece of the sky had come down to rest on our land.